Good evening. They'd just been celebrating the arrival of much-needed rain. Now the Darling Downs town of Warwick is in mourning following the tragic deaths of 4 of its own in a shocking highway crash. 3 young men and a teenage girl were on their way to a party when their car was crushed by a prime mover.
They were the very best of mates, inseparable. They lived for each other. Years before their time. 18-year-old Max Thorley, 21-year-old Nick Nolan, Brett McKenzie 20 and his 17-year-old girlfriend Abby Izzy were driving along the Cunningham Highway just outside Warwick when their car and
the B-double truck has literally run over the top of the Honda sedan, and we've got multiple deceased people in the Honda sedan, and we're just waiting for the police to finish their inspections reports and before we can take action to release these people.
Thought they'd missed a turn, stopped down the highway and were trying to do a U-turn.
On the night in question, we had a number of crews working here, being a Saturday night here in Warwick. It was an ordinary night, a standard type night for us. We were tending to just routine matters in the streets of Warwick, and we received a call to attend to it. At that point in time, we were just advised it was a fatal traffic accident or fatal traffic crash involving a truck and a car. Upon arrival, we just briefly surveyed the scene. We determined obviously that it was a fatality and quickly determined that there were 3 deceased persons at least at the scene. We didn't know at that time who they were. We just knew, it's fairly obvious to us, both myself and Constable Prendergast, that they were young people. And then a short time later we found the 4th deceased person out of the vehicle, which was young Abigail.
Well, Brooke and I actually live in Brisbane, so we were both in Brisbane and we were both out. Brooke was at a wedding and I was out with a friend, but Denny was at home that night.
I was here, and I came out with Mum and saw the police. You see it on TV when you walk out and you see police standing there, and you know automatically what it is. And nothing you can do prepare you for that shock, and nothing you can say describes how you feel.
I was staying over at Lou's house actually. We'd just been hanging out on the Saturday night, and I got a phone call from my mum and dad, who were out of town, on the Sunday morning, saying that they'd heard about a car accident on the radio and just wanted to make sure that I was okay, because they heard about it being a group of young people. And
I sort of started considering the notion that no matter who it would be, like, we were going to know them. But like Tiff, another girl that was staying with us, she got a message saying, "Did you hear about Max?" And like, we were just thinking, no one would just say, "Did you hear about Max?" Like, they'd be crying and upset. But we just kept messaging people, and then Tiff said to me, like, I still remember so clearly, Tiff said to me, "Yeah, it was Max," and I just like, I don't know, just couldn't breathe, just felt like I'd just been kicked in the chest.
That night, the first time we heard about it was in the morning when we woke up. I first heard Danny screaming, and then it just came after name after name after name, and you don't believe it at first.
About 4:15. Knock on the door. I went out. 2 policemen there. They told me to get my husband. We went out and they just told us then about the accident, that there were 4 children killed and that Brett was one of them. And then I asked about Abby and they said she was gone too, because Abby was living with me. So I don't know what else to say. It was just the most devastating, unbelievable. It was unbelievable. You couldn't comprehend that this had happened. It just doesn't happen to us.
of course I had to go to the funeral home and identify the body.
It's rough.
And I wouldn't like, if I could get a message to kids, don't let that ever happen to your parents.
Like the first time I met Max's mum, I was giving her the phone of her son who just died. I found it out at the wreck when we went out there. I found his phone lying on the ground. Like that was the first time that I ever met her. Like you shouldn't have to do that at age 16, but I did, and I just didn't think I'd ever have to. When we went over to a house of Brett's best mate, like hearing him crying, I don't think I'm ever going to forget like what it sounded like. It was just absolute agony. Like there was nothing like it, hearing Donnie cry. Like
well, probably the first couple of days I just wouldn't believe it. I was just waiting for someone to shake me and say, wake up. You know, this is just a bad dream, or someone's just having a real sick joke, mucking around or something like that. But as time has gone on, I'd probably, you know, I have my moments even today where I sort of feel I have like little panic attacks type things, as if just to think, oh, you know, this is real and it is happening, and you know, I'm not going to get to see them for a while now, and you know, it does make it very hard, but something does come over you then, and you pull yourself together, and you know, you go back and remember all the good times and the fun things, you know, the times we shared together, and you know, that sort of makes it help a little bit. But
Brett was our favourite brother, but he was our only brother. It went me, Hayley, Brett, then Denny. He is crazy, wild, out of control, just
A champion in a good way.
All in a good way. Hilarious. Gosh, you could, every single exciting word in the dictionary could be used to describe Brett. And he loved his fishing, he loved his dog, he loved animals,
lizards.
he loved his friends, and those bunch of boys, I was even saying, coming back today, they are the best bunch of boys you could ever meet out of any friendship. And there wasn't just like 3 of them, there was like 10.
More.
And then more of them, and they were all so close.
I think kids and teenagers, or however old you are, need to remember that if you get in the car, not that they were doing anything wrong like we said, but and you've had too much to drink, or like you said, you've smoked a joint, or you're on the road and you start speeding, not only think that they'll lose their own life, but they're leaving behind so many people. Like, these kids didn't mean for what happened on that Saturday night. They had no idea the wave of devastation it was going to cause. They look at, you know, you can sit there and think, oh, you know, if I speed, I'm going to be killed. Yeah, you will be killed and you've lost your life, but you leave behind all of your friends who will be devastated, your parents who have lost a child, your siblings who have lost either a brother or a sister. It's not just their own life that they're losing, but it ruins so many other lives. And not to say our lives are ruined, but they'll never be the same again.
Yeah, in a split second they make a wrong decision, which they obviously did, and no one's going to know exactly what happened for sure, and they did, and there's 4 kids gone.
We didn't have a dull moment because of Brett. He's always everywhere, all the time. And it just doesn't seem real that he's not going to be there anymore. And that we're not going to have this boy, this crazy person bobbing around in and out all the time. It just doesn't seem real to have to live without him.
Most people, when they have to go to funerals, you know, it might be a godfather or grandparent or something, and for, you know, there were over 1,200 people or something that turned up to the funerals, and most of them were probably under the age of 20, and they had to witness 4 funerals in 48 hours. It was horrific, really.
Like, you're having conversations that you never thought you'd have, like messaging your friends and saying, when's Max's funeral? Like, it shouldn't be that. You shouldn't be asking when his funeral is. You should be like asking when his party is or something, not his funeral. not Abby's funeral. Like, it just doesn't happen. It's just not supposed to happen.
I still can't believe it. I wake up every morning thinking, see Brett or any of the other kids. Still wait for his ute to drive up the driveway. Give you a ring and ask you to have fishing or something, but it doesn't happen.
For a start, they were just three well-liked guys. You know, young men, the typical young men in the community, part of, you know, worked in town, worked in the rural sector, were tradesmen, and they were part of our fairly tight-knit footy club here. Footy club will keep going, but it'll never be the same around here, you know, without those three guys. And they'll never be forgotten, and they'll always be missed. They were just your typical young guys that everyone loved to be around. Road accidents are the biggest killers of 17 to 25-year-olds in Australia, you know, and so whether it be common sense and concentration or just planning ahead or whatever, you know, but, you know, it is a tragedy to lose so many young people to road accidents across Australia. And, you know, it's not only the people who are being killed, you know, for every 500 killed in Australia, there's 7,000 injured. But that common sense and concentration and planning ahead and, you know, obeying road rules and everything else. So that's, you know, just what I think. But, you know, it's just a tragic note. No, I don't know what happened that night, you know.
It just shows that, you're not invincible. It's not, they didn't make any mistake. Like they made a mistake, but it was just a pure accident. It just shows that it can happen to anyone. It doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing, these things do happen.
You never think about it twice.
No, you never think about it twice.
We don't need anything or anyone. If I lay here,
I say to young drivers, be patient. There's no need to be in a rush. If the drive takes an hour and a quarter instead of 3/4 an hour, so what? Don't speed, don't drink and drive, listen to your parents, don't fiddle with the radios, don't use mobile phones, because your life can be taken from you like that. We didn't think it would ever happen to us, but it has, just like that.
A couple of weeks ago, alongside like 60 kids, Abby graduated, and we all went off and, you know, to start our new lives and explore the world, and, you know, within a couple of weeks we were all back again, and it just killed you. Where's my baby sister?
Abby's phone, if you call, just leave a message. If not, well, go away.